What is going on, YouTube people? Neo Cards and Comics here. Today we got some nonsense to talk about. Oh boy, this will be a spicy one. Up on the screen here, and I should say this was discovered on a Ohtani Facebook group, and then shared in the Blowout forums, and then was sent my direction. So shout out to the Facebook / Blowout Detective Agency for always trying to track this stuff down. They always seem to discover this random stuff. So what we have is a 2018 Topps Update Independence Day, serial number 12 out of 76 in a BGS 9 slab. This card sold not long ago, March 13th, 2023, for $2,000. You can see the cross out / accepted there. As we look at the old BGS label up here. Whoo boy, this thing is pristine, except for a corner. We see 3 9.5s and an 8.5. And you could also see in this zoomed in section, if you were curious, the corner in question is that top right. You can see that looks a little rounded off, a little bit of white there, a little corner ding, a little bit of white on the edges there, but nothing crazy. But that corner is 100% the corner in question. We'll look at the back here just to confirm. Here is our 12 of 76 for the Independence Day. But that top right corner, that's where things went a little sideways with this bad boy. So someone purchased this back on March 13th for a cool $2,000. Great looking card. Have to say. Just gorgeous looking card. Looks great. Red jersey with the Independence Day theme. Fantastic. What do we have here? This sold just like a month ago. April 17th, a month after the previous one was sold. What do we see? Oh, PSA 10. Wow, $11,000 for a PSA 10. Woo-wee. Sheesh. Out of 76, just like the other one. Let's look here. Wait a second. Hold on now. What does that say? That says 12 out of 76. Wait a second. This is 12 out of 76. This is a BGS 8.5. I'm sorry, this is a BGS 9 with an 8.5 corner. What the hell? What happened here? Well, wait a second. That corner looks clean as a whistle. That corner looks nice. Damn. You know why? Hashtag allegedly, but I mean, let's use our own eyes here. I don't have the cards in hand, so this is not perfect. So we'll use the alleged. But that corner does not look the same as that corner. And now let's go to the tape. A couple things to note here, and this is really the telling one. You could see, this is going to be really hard to do. On the top star there, the very top star at the arc, just to the southeast of the rookie card logo. On the top and bottom point, you could see a little gap there on the red. What I'm talking about is right here. The edge of the star, and then you could see a very thin sliver of red between the edge of the star and the border. I'm going to go back to the zoomed in so you can see what I'm talking about there. So you see what I'm talking about? A little bit of red to the right of that star before the right-handed point kind of goes out. So that's on the BGS 9 with the bad corner. Also down here at the bottom, you could see on this bottom square right here, these bottom 3 squares, there is a little gap on the right-hand side. Once again, we'll kind of go back to this. So you can see that little gap there on the bottom right-hand little Tetris piece. Let's go over to this one. It's the PSA 10. I don't see that much red next to the star on that one. Really none at all. It's pretty much right up against the edge of the card. And then when we come down here, On that little Tetris piece in the bottom right-hand corner, you also do not notice the gap there either. That little Tetris piece is right up against the edge. So it looks like someone got a little bit of a haircut on that right-hand side. What did that little haircut do? Netted them about $9,000 on a sale price. It'll be less than that with selling fees and grading fees and all that other stuff. But nice little $8,000 profit for taking a little trim off the old right-hand side. Couple things to note. I think people always associate trimming with vintage. There's been clear examples of this happens in modern, probably more often than we all realize. There was that whole shenanigans with the Contenders football a couple years ago, where those were getting trimmed up. And we see it here with this Ohtani. In regards to PSA catching this, not obviously they didn't catch it. They PSA 10 slabbed it. We will see what they do in regards to the buyback guarantee. I know that the buyer of this card has been in contact with PSA. That is laid out in the blowout thread. If you look at the blowout forum thread, the buyer of the card actually posted in there. He has reached out to PSA, but he has not heard back yet. But I believe this all just happened in the last 24 hours. So it is a weekend. So probably PSA probably hasn't even seen it yet. So we will see how they respond. They have the PSA guarantee. We will see if they back that up or not. So the question now becomes, should PSA have caught this? Obviously, we would all like to think so. They are a professional grading company. Is it negligence? Is it they're just burning through these cards as fast as humanly possible to get them turned around and out the door? Is it that the trimmers that are doing this are that good? Is it one of the cases that the criminals are always kind of a step ahead of law enforcement, and then they kind of adapt to each other, and then the next one steps up and switches their game up a little bit? I'll say this: if you're trimming a card and you're laying out $2,000 plus on a card to trim it, you're probably pretty good at what you're doing. That's a pretty big risk for your average person to take, in my opinion, anyways. It's not my money, so what the hell do I know? But to buy a $2,000 plus card, trim it, and if you mess it up, you're screwed, for the potential of the PSA 10 of it all. Now, obviously, this was a massive windfall for that person. And by the way, they sold this through a consignment, and I'm sure they probably submitted it through a group submitter. So it would probably be very difficult to track down. And we also don't know, the person that bought the BGS 9, in theory, could potentially not be the person that trimmed it. We don't know that for sure. We also don't know who the buyer is. I guess Red Rock Cards would know. But just because the person that bought it does not mean that that's the person that trimmed it. This card could have changed hands again. That's probably unlikely given the narrow time frame here. This card was bought in early March and then sold again a month later, re-slabbed. I'm sure PSA will look up the cert number. I would be willing to bet it goes back to a group submitter. No idea for sure. I'm just speculating. If you're trimming cards, you're probably not submitting on your own. You're probably using a third party to do it. Now, the consigner would know who consigned it. I highly doubt they are going to give that information up. So in a perfect world, it would have been nice if PSA would have caught this. I don't have a card in hand. I can't sit here and be like, oh my God, how the hell did they not catch this? Look at this. It's plain as day that this was trimmed. It's impossible to tell that from a scan of the card. And like I said, if you're rolling the dice to crack a card and then trim it and resubmit it, you're probably pretty good at what you're doing. And I'm not trying to make excuses for PSA. I just think on a lot of these cards, it is tough to tell if they were trimmed, if the trimmer is that good at what they're doing. I really think it comes down to that. If they have the right tools and know what they're doing, I would have to imagine this is pretty difficult to trim. And remember, a lot of people were like, well, the card's smaller. there's tolerances on the cards. There's a range of how big the card could be. And part of the interview that Sports Card Nonsense did with Evan Mathis, he specifically talked about not every card is trimmable. You have to find ones that are a little bit larger or on the larger size of that spec that you could take a little bit off of it and it's still going to fall in that range. But now we'll see what they do. They should. This is why people like PSA, because of the guarantee. So we'll see what happens with this. I mean, maybe we won't, depending on how this all shakes out, we might not hear about it anymore. But buyer beware out there. Trimming is not something that is just limited to vintage. It can absolutely happen in modern cards as well. That's all I got for you boys and girls today. Wasn't even planning on doing a video, but this came across the desk and wanted to get it out there. We will catch you tomorrow for the weekly sports card market update. Peace.